Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to the PS3 Gaming Show. Now we're taking a little break from some videos, of gaming I should say, to go back and visit a video that we did a while back before we got partnered on YouTube. And basically it was the PHP and HTML registration form and login form. Now what happened there was YouTube didn't allow us to upload videos longer than 10 minutes at the time, and the second part got deleted, so that when you were watching the two subsequent parts it'd go from having no code to having a load of different code, and the kind of bit in the middle was a big ambiguity. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be revisiting that tutorial all in one video, so there's no different parts. You can just watch this video and go from there. Now I'm also going to be redesigning the form. I'm not going to be focusing too much on the design, if at all, in this tutorial, but I will go back in another tutorial and redesign it. But if you guys know how to use HTML and CSS, or if you guys have a basic design, this is going to be your kind of form. But again, obviously we will revisit that tutorial and design this form around. So the first thing I've done in a little pre-roll is I've gone and downloaded WAMP server, WAMP. You can just do a quick Doodle search of that and it'll bring you up. I created a database called tut, and I'm using a directory in my WAMP folder called tut as well. You don't really need to do that if you don't want to. Just make sure you create a database, call it tut if you want to, if you're completely a noob. But don't forget that if you call it something different, you'll have to substitute that later on. So I'm going to start by activating the code. Now we're going to build this code separately. So this is going to be the connection to the database. Now I haven't done PHP in quite a while, so do excuse me if I made a few mistakes. So I'm going to do mysql underscore connect, and I'm going to spell it right, first mistake there, and string server is localhost. If you're using a remote server like 00 webhost, that's slightly different. You can find that in the 00 webhost control panel. So string username is going to be root, because it's just my database, and the string password is blank. Now guys, don't forget again, if you're using this on a public web server that people can access, that's going to be completely different. You can contact your host and they'll be able to tell you that. So then I'm doing mysql underscore select underscore db, and this is going to be the database that we're using. In this case it's going to be called tut. Now I'm going to save this as a config file. Go to my folder here. I'm going to say this is config.php or config.php. Open up a new PHP file. I'm using PHP Designer 7. You guys can use anything, Notepad, Dreamweaver, whatever you want to use, it doesn't matter. This is not a sponsor video or anything along those lines. So this one is going to be our login form. So I'm going to save this as login.php, and then we're going to open up another one and we're going to save this as register.php. Now each of these we're going to include, or require I should say, require config, put these in quotation marks, I really can't spell today, I do apologise, config.php, and what this is going to do is going to require the file that we just created, and if it can't find that file, it's going to do a generic error. Now we don't want that generic error ourselves, that rhymes, generic error. So if for example, if I rename this something different, went to the login page, it would just give this error here, which we don't really want. It kind of gives us a different error that we wouldn't like. So instead what we're going to do is I'm going to put or die. This is going to say if I can't find that file, what would you like me to do? So I'm going to say or die cannot find the config file. Save that, and then this is going to give me that error, I think. Okay, didn't do that, that's strange. Let me just put error reporting to 0. Let's see what comes up. Nothing, okay, great. E underscore error. Nope, fantastic. Okay, so that doesn't work. Okay, so you can kind of just leave it as require. You don't realise it's only the one. We're only requiring one file, so if it gives you that error, you kind of know the reason why. It's because if you get this error, that's because we can't find the config file. I've already used 5 minutes and I've not done anything but that's not so much because we can't upload videos longer than 15 minutes. So I'm going to start with the registration form, and again, this is not going to be any kind of HTML based form or anything along those lines. So then we're going to require our config.php, and then we're going to put it in quotation marks. Or forget to put it in quotation marks, I should say. So require config.php there. So let's start by building our what should we do? No, that's not. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to check whether or not the form has already been submitted, because we're going to use the same register.php form. We're not going to go to an external form. All the kind of processing and the administrative bits of adding things into the database are going to be done in the registration form. So we first need to check if it's been submitted, because if it's been submitted, we want to do a different thing to if it hasn't been submitted. So to do that, we just do if, then in brackets, if set, and then again in brackets, sorry, is set, not if set, and then it is going to be $_post submit. Now remember the case of this, okay? That's important later on, so it's all lowercase. So if is set $_post submit, open curly braces, leave that blank, go down to the end of the curly braces, type else, open the curly braces, close curly braces, and in between those we're going to do some HTML code to display the form. Now we could echo it out or do a key. We could even open and close PHP tags. That's not really great, so I'm going to do form equals, I'm actually going to do a key, I think, or dot as it's known, and I can basically now put my HTML code inside this freely, provided there's no white space. So again, this is not a HTML formatted file. We're going to revisit the actual design of this in another tutorial. This is just for me to display the user's information. So I'm going to do form action equals, this is where we want it to go when the user presses submit, register.php, and our method is going to be post. Now the reason it's going to be post is because up here we're calling the post, we're checking the posts. I'm going to close our form out. So form action is register.php, method is post, and then we're going to do input type equals text, value, no, name, not value, name equals, let's put this as name for now. This is going to be the person's first name, and we need to write what the user needs to enter. So first name, and then we're going to add a line break. Last name is input type equals text name, and this is what we're going to call it. So we're going to call this L name for last name. Add another line break. Username input type equals text name equals uname, and this is going to be a very basic form. You can customize this to as much as you want. Let's add an email address in. Name equals email1. Now the reason for that is because we're going to verify that they've typed in the same confirmation. So then confirm email, input type equals text, name equals email2. And don't worry if you're missing out on this. We're going to pause the video later on and then you can catch up, so don't worry if you're falling behind. Confirm email, so then let's do a password, input type equals, now we want this one to be a password so that anyone stood behind the computer can't see what they type, and also the computer will do different things, so you can't copy things from a password as well. So if it's a password formatted field, you can't copy the data that's been entered in. And then let's confirm that password. I nearly wrote confirm that password. Input type, and this is going to look really, really awful, but it doesn't matter for the moment, because again we're going to format this. later on. Now you noticed how I've opened and closed the form. For these things like the inputs, you don't really need to do those. You don't need to have a slash input like this. You wouldn't need to have a input. You can if you want to, or input. And then with the break, you definitely don't need it for that. You don't need to have a break slash break. You know, it doesn't. There's no point where you can just end it by putting a space, the forward slash, and then the greater than sign. So confirm password, let's just leave it at that. Input type equals submit. Value, because we want the button to say something, equals register. And the name, and this is very important, is the lowercase that we used up here. Submit. End our form, and get rid of our white space. Now this isn't going to display anything as of yet, because all we've done here is assign this doc to the variable form. So to display that, we should do echo form, semicolon, save this, let's go to our register file. Hopefully this will work, and I've not broke it. There we go. So it's not a very nice formatted form. It doesn't necessarily matter. When I press register, it doesn't do anything. So what we're going to do now is take a little bit of a break. You guys can pause the video, catch up with all this code. We're going to come back and we are going to finish off our verification of the form and then add our things to the database. So if you haven't already caught up, pause the video now. I'm only going to stop for a couple of seconds. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Basically my break just allowed me to take a drink. So what we're going to do now is, as you can see, when I click register, nothing happens. The page just loads, but it doesn't. The page kind of reloads, but doesn't display anything, and that's because it's in this. It's not activating this, so it's saying yes, the form has been submitted. What would you like me to do? So, first thing I'm going to do, and we can always comment. It's always good practice to comment on a document. Because then if anyone else wants to read it, they know where we are. My management blank. But if anyone else wants to read it after we're done, they know what to do. So here we're going to perform the verification of the nation. Goes back to a chewing gum commercial from the UK called Mastication for the Nation. Trident, I think that was. So the first things we need to check, we could go and check if all these forms have been filled in, and basically we would just do an if set statement within this statement here. I'm not going to bother with that, it takes too long, but basically you would just do the same thing up here. If is set $_post name. If it is, check L name. If it isn't, display an error. It matches out the file. So I'm not going to bother with that. What I am going to do though is check to confirm that the email address and passwords are both the same, and only if they are can we continue and then add our stuff to the database. So we are going to do the following. If and actually let's assign these to some variables. So email1 is equal to post email1, and then we're using that $_post to declare that we've posted the form. Email2 variable is to be equals to, and then this is fully customizable. You can change this to confirm other things match or whatever you want to do. Pass1 and pass2 is going to be pass2. So now we can run some if statements. So we can say if email1 equals, which is equal to email2. If it does, then we're going to check the password. So then we do another if statement that says if $pass1 equals pass2. We could put all good, carry on. So if pass1 doesn't equal pass2, we're going to do else echo, sorry, your passwords do not match. Let's put a break there, and then we're going to edit the script, because if the emails don't match, we're going to do the same thing, but we're not going to edit the script. Sorry, your emails do not match. Break. But then we're not going to edit the script. So if I go back and I refresh the page, don't want to resend the form, and I put 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, my emails do not match. So let's match those emails just to double check, and then match the passwords. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Match the passwords. Sorry, my passwords do not match. Excellent. So, in this ordered carry on part, we're now going to redeclare our variables, or declare some variables, pass them through a kind of sanitization bit for our database, and then add them into the database. So to do that, we're going to do name equals MySQL underscore real, not real, MySQL underscore escape underscore string post name. And then we can just kind of literally copy and paste this a few times, and then change these as we go. So lname, and this was uname, then we had email, which I can just do as email1, and then I can also just change this to email. So I've already declared this up there, so what I can do here is email1. I can just say get this bit up here and then sanitize it, and then make it go back to that. I know it kind of doesn't make sense that but trust me, you don't need to retype that. Email 2, this is going to be pass 1 and pass 2. Now we don't need one for the submit button, and that's all we've got. So get rid of those bottom 2. This is going to be email 2, email, no, I keep doing that, it's pass 1 and pass 2. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a database table. So we now know how many fields we're going to need. So let's go and create our database table. So go to our database, we're going to create a new table, call this users. Number of fields, well, that's easy to find out. We need 1 for our ID, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 fields. So we're going to start off by putting ID, then name. And it's easy to keep these the same. Names is what you've called your variables. lname, your uname, email1. No, I don't need the email. I don't need 8. I only really need these because we don't need the confirmation, because we're only confirming it for ourselves. So save those. It'll delete those 2 fields. So we have name, last name, username, email and password, and then we're going to click on this little button here. This is going to make our ID field the primary key. And what I've also just realized I've done is set them all as integers, so we're going to edit those. So this is going to be a varchar of, let's put 64, 64, 64, 64, and then the password we're going to set to 128 because we're going to encrypt it. In fact, let's set these all to 120 because we can encrypt them if we wanted to as well. And save them. So that's that made, so we can go back to here now, and we can do MySQL underscore query. I think I'm going to sneeze. Apologise for that. MySQL underscore query in quotations. There we go, that's what I wanted, not colons, quotation marks. We're going to do insert into users. Now if you're looking for this symbol, which won't let me highlight this one here, it's that little key next to your 1, on the left of your 1, not the 2. Insert into users, then in brackets, we're going to have ID, name, lname, uname, email, pass. Close the brackets, values, null, and this is going to be name with the $, lname, uname, email, pass. Okay, and then end down quotation, or curly braces, put a semicolon at the end, hit save. Let's go run this. So I'm just going to fill this out with 321, 321, 321, 321, 321, 321, 321, and we have an error. Line 24. Oh, okay. Email 1, pass 1. Because I didn't call them email, I told them email 1 and pass 1. I'm going to resend this, and it's probably inserted 2 lines. That's... no, it hasn't. That's interesting. Insert into users ID, name, last name, username, values. Or die my SQL_error. Someone else said, shut up. Ooh, doesn't like that. Get rid of that one. Let's resend it. Column ID to not be null. But it can be null. Because it's a primary key. Okay, now it's a primary key. Okay, fine. Fair enough. So it wasn't a primary key. Is now. Why can't it can't be null? Oh, right, okay. So also when you set it to the primary ID, you also need to include auto increment. So you need to tick auto increment. If you don't tick that, it doesn't automatically increment the numbers. That's registered, hopefully. So I can go back to users. There we have. Now you'll also see now as we register the user, the password is displayed in real text, which is never good for a database. You always want to keep that secure. So the way we do that is underneath this escape query, we do pass1 space equals space md5 pass1. And what this is going to do, if I re-register my database, it's going to translate that password that we're typing in here and convert it into an MD5 checksum. Like you can see the MD5 hash even. So it translates our real text into an MD5 text. Now, theoretically speaking, and I suppose I could do that, we could base 64 encrypt these stuff here. So again, it's another level of encryption. It's not really hard to decode. I don't think I'm going to do it in this tutorial. It's already 25 minutes long. So I think we're just going to leave the password encrypted. Again, I'm going to pause the video now. We're going to move on to the login form. Come back to us after this short pause. Catch up on the code. Do come back to us. And we'll move on to the login form, which is the easiest thing in the whole wide world. Hopefully. Okay guys, so welcome back. So hopefully you've caught up now. Let's move on to our login form. Now don't forget, this is a kind of a work in progress form, so currently there's no kind of user verification to check if the user already exists. That can cause some issues. In fact, let's add that in real quick. Let's just add that in. So MySQL_query. Before we move on to the login form literally takes 2 minutes. So before we insert the stuff into the database, let's run the query and check if the user exists. So select all from users where uname space equals space uname. Okay, and we're going to assign this query to the variable SQL, and then we're going to say if mysql underscore num underscore rows, if the number of rows returned from this query called SQL is greater than 0, means there's a row returned, echo sorry that user already exists. Probably spelled wrong. No. And then exit the script, so it doesn't carry on anymore. So hopefully now, when I register this, there you go. Semicolon there. Hopefully now when I register this, sorry that user already exists, but I can go and register a 1, just like that, and then it adds it still into my database. So now we're going to do the login form. Same thing again. We're going to do if is set post submit else, and then form equals a doc delete the white space, doesn't like that. Form action equals login.php, method is going to equal post as always, and then it's just going to be a case of username input type equals text, name equals uname, add a line break, password input type equals password, not text, name equals pass. We don't need a verification because they've already verified and logged in. Input type equals submit, name equals, then do it in a lowercase, submit, value equals login, and then end our form and delete our white space. And it is literally as simple as that. So in the if set submit, we're going to do $uname space equals space mysql underscore escape underscore string post uname mysql underscore escape underscore string post pass, and we're just going to check our variables and take away any of the itty sanitization things we don't need. Now what we need to do is we need to run a statement here, so we're going to then assign this to an SQL variable. I want to run a query that says select all from users where not only uname is equal to uname, but where pass, so and pass, is equal to pass. And then we're going to do if mysql underscore num underscore rows SQL is greater than 0, echo you are now logged in. Exit the script. So, but also you'll notice that we haven't yet checked. So this is going to check if what I enter exists in the database. Well, the only thing I'm going to enter is my password, which is okay. Don't echo that as well. The only thing I'm going to enter is my password, which I set as 321. So if I log in with 321321, it's not going to display anything because there was an error. Because if I do an else statement here to display any errors, echo wrong u/p, which means username or password combination. If I do that and then resend this, it should tell me I have a wrong username and password, but we know I don't because my email and password, my username and password were 321321. What I haven't done And what we need to make sure we do is that we the hell have I just done? Is that we repass this password variable through an MD5 field. That kind of works, I guess, because you'll see what I mean there. So we run the pass through the MD5 pass again, which means that what's going to happen now is once it's been escaped from all the strings that you can use to corrupt or run SQL injection on our database, it's then going to convert that submitted password into an MD5 password and then check to see if it matches in the database. So hopefully now, if I've saved that, which I haven't, hopefully now when I re-log in, it should give me get rid of that. I am now logged in. So there we go. So you can also kind of change things as well to make this have sessions. So you can run a session start in here. As I say, we'll probably come back to these again and kind of, enhance them and make them look better. But for you kind of bare bones, basic login form, this is exactly what you want to be doing. So you got your registration form, which verifies the user doesn't exist at the moment, and then your login form, which will check to see if the username and password are correct, but also it gives you the password in real time, in a secure encrypted form rather than real text. Now anyway, we're probably going to come back and visit the design, maybe encrypt the rest of the data as well, which isn't too hard, and kind of add some other things onto this login form, so we can add sessions and all those other kinds of stuff. But this is your kind of basic way of making the form. Now if you want to learn more about this, you can research what you can do with MySQL. The things that you can do, for example, you can call up an SQL query and then assign everything from that query to a separate variable. So you can, for example, have where it says hello Connor or hello 321, depending on who kind of logs in to the system. And then I'll probably show you that in another tutorial. Half an hour long, all in one video, so there's no different parts to worry about. All to do now is upload this. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please do like and subscribe. It really does help us out. You don't realise how much the subscriptions do help us out, knowing that you want to come back and see more of us. Let me know if you want to see any specific features down below. We do try and give as much support in the comments as possible. Hopefully I haven't bored you too long. And as I say, if you have any issues, do post a comment. I'll probably post this script up at some point if I get a chance. If you have any issues though, post in the comments. I'll send you some support over the personal message or in the comment system. Even if you're not too sure, if it's a simple answer, post it. Someone else might be asking the same question as well. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.